I recently heard PMS described as please make space, and I thought what a beautiful way to describe what we actually need during this stage of the cycle. Premenstrual phase often gets a bad rap. It's the time of month where we're the least patient, the most irritable. But what if these feelings in our body are really just communication? Our body asking for what it actually needs, which is space, time, and introspection. Space to rest, time to breathe and think and just be. And so that's exactly what we're going to be doing in today's class. Bring as many props as you like into today's practice to make yourself comfortable. I'll be using bolsters, I'll have a hot water bottle, and I'm also going to be starting with a castor oil pack on my belly to help with bloating and cramps. It's a really beautiful self-care practice that you can do at this time. So I'm using an organic castor oil. Beware, this does get a little bit messy. And I'm just pouring it on an old pillowcase that I've cut up. I'm coming here into supine butterfly to start, placing the castor oil pack over my womb, and then bringing the hot water bottle on to bring some heat into this space. Bring yourself now into a similar position, and let's start our practice today. When you're ready, close down the eyes. Take a few deep breaths into the low belly. Feel the side ribs expanding right to the top of the chest. Hold the breath in for a few moments. And then slowly exhale all the air out through the nose. Let's do this a few more times. Inhaling. And exhaling. If you're using a hot water bottle, bring your hands onto it now just to steady it as you bring the soles of the feet up to the floor. You might need to adjust the back slightly. So soles of the feet are on the floor about hip distance, and then just gently wipe the legs from side to side. Inhaling over to one side and then exhaling over to the other. So I really want you to tune into your body in today's practice, which I also want to recognize might feel excruciatingly painful. This time of the cycle is the time of the inner critic. So this is when that internal voice that can often be quite mean comes up the loudest. At least she does for me anyway. I know at this time of the cycle, I often find myself wanting to criticize my kids, my husband, myself, my work, everything. I just want to burn it down. And so I think it can be helpful to have that awareness of that's a normal part of this part of the cycle so that we're not believing that inner voice. So in today's practice, just be mindful that you might be wanting to pull yourself apart in this practice. And whenever that happens, we're going to take a breath. And we're going to lean into that knowledge of knowing that that voice is going to be there, but also thinking we don't necessarily have to listen to her. So I want you to bring the right leg up and place the ankle across the left knee, and then just gently rock from side to side here as well. So really gentle stretch into the hip. Focus on pressing this knee away. So this leg is engaged. As you gently press the knee away, you'll get a little more of a juicy stretch into that hip. You'll notice today's practice is really gentle. Our energy levels start to wane at this time of the cycle, so we're really just slowing down with the cues of our body. Often we'll find if you push harder in this stage of the cycle, your cramps during your period are a lot worse. So really trying to slow down. You can still do other exercise, like if you enjoy walking or maybe some slow weights, things like that. You can absolutely still do that, as well as making time for this practice, which is about tuning in. So we've swapped legs now. Hope you caught that one. Gently press the knee away. And then if it feels nice, little rock from side to side. Good. I want you to release the feet down. Use the hands to bring you to come up to have a seat. And then place that hot water bottle on the bolster behind you if you're using one. And then you're just going to lean back on it, bring a little bit of heat into the low back, and then bring the feet in towards the buttocks. Take the knees over to one side. We're coming into a very gentle spinal twist. So take the arms out wide, looking away from the knees. Full deep breaths here, really sinking into the supports beneath you. And then change where the legs are facing over to the opposite side. If you don't have bolsters, you can use pillows off your bed, or you can get rid of them entirely if you'd prefer to be flat on the ground. That will also work too. Big deep breath here. Good. Slowly bring the legs back into center. Use the hands once more to slowly press yourself all the way back up. You can move that hot water bottle out the way, placing it to the side for now. We won't use it again until the end of our practice. Bring the soles of the feet in towards each other so your feet can come out wider if you need a little bit more space, or if you're okay to do so and you want that stretch through the inner thigh, draw them in. Lift the knees up and then see if you can exhale, gently pressing them down. So again, the legs are active, gently pressing down here. Inhale, lift them up. See if you can find some length through the spine. Exhale, lower. One more like this with the breath. Inhale them up. Good, and then exhale, lower them down, and then just take little flutters with the knees, gently bouncing them up and down. So we're encouraging some circulation, some blood flow, and some release through the pelvis here, which as we're heading into our period is a time of release. We're just kind of encouraging that to happen. Good, and then slide the feet out slightly, making a diamond shape, or if you prefer, you can cross the legs, whatever works best for you. And we're just taking some pelvic circles. So thinking about massaging into the belly. I want you to think about consciously relaxing that belly. So if you're someone who chronically holds the belly tight, really letting it go, letting it all hang out. So I'm practicing today in yoga tights, but typically when I'm practicing during my PMS stage or during my period, I'm wearing tracksuit pants, I'm wearing pajama pants, anything that is not clinging to my belly. So you might find today, if you're also in yoga tights, it's time to change out of those at this stage of the cycle and get into some more comfy clothes. So just one way and then the other, reversing your circles. Just being in your body here. Good, and then let's take the legs nice and wide. So as wide as your legs will allow. And then we're going to use these bolsters, drag them in front of us. So depending on how open your hamstrings are as to how many bolsters you would like. So my hamstrings at the moment, because I've been doing a fair bit of other exercise, lots of walking, lots of weights, my hamstrings are feeling quite tight. So I'm going to use 2 bolsters just so that I can really gently relax down, so that I'm getting the stretch through the leg, but this is still really nicely restorative and not putting too much strain through the back. So get yourself comfortable and then take 5 full deep breaths here, really sinking into this position. If you can't feel the stretch through the legs or groin at all, you might need to creep yourself further forward slightly. Just breathing here. Good, gently release your body back up. Let's bring the legs in, but you can leave the bolsters where they are for the moment because it won't matter. Taking a really gentle twist. So bring one hand behind you and plant it down onto the ground and use that as a cue to really lift up through the spine. And then gently look over that back shoulder. Just breathing into the full length of your body here. Gently release in the opposite direction. Take the other hand behind you. Feel free to let the hips move. You don't have to keep the hips square to the front. Let them move. Find some space in the body. And then gently release back around to the front. We're going to change where our legs are, but leave where your props are. Coming into a child's pose here with the knees nice and wide because we want to make lots of nice space for that belly just to be gentle and hang. Again, you can keep 2 bolsters or you can come to have 1, whatever is more comfortable for you. I like to have 2 just to bring it up a little bit more and make it even more comfortable for me. I want you to consciously let the shoulders, the face, and the neck relax. I just want you to follow the breath as it moves into the body and it moves out of the body. Gently letting the hips sink here. Conscious letting go of any gripping, any physical tension, and encouraging that emotional tension to release with it. Allowing yourself to accept this stage of the cycle for what it is and for what it often brings up. Letting those negative thoughts be without getting involved or feeling like you need to fix them. Your next breath, slowly come back up to have a kneel. Coming up into a high kneel, we're going to bring this bolster behind us. We're going to place it as close as we can to the seams of the knees so that when you sit down, you're sitting quite high up onto the bolster. So there's a little bit of pressure on the heels, but it should feel comfortable. If it doesn't, you can adjust it down, more onto the feet, wherever feels good for you. And then just place the hands gently in the lap. And we're going to close the eyes and take a few full deep breaths here. Good. Gently reach the hands forward, coming into your tabletop. Let's do a few rounds of our cat-cow. Inhaling, lifting the head, lifting the tail. Exhale, rounding through the spine, looking back towards the thighs. Inhale, lift the tail, lift the head. And then from here, you can make your cat-cow move in any direction you like. So don't feel like you have to stay on that linear line. You can make circles, you can rock from side to side. Really want you to explore into your cat-cow instead of feeling rigidly stuck in what a traditional cat-cow should look like. Good, releasing, coming up into a high kneel now. Now either bringing the hands onto the low back and just gently pressing the hips forward as you lift the eye gaze towards the ceiling, or you can bring the hands onto that bolster which is sitting on top of the heels and gently open the chest a little bit more. Breathing here. If it feels okay, you could release the head and neck back, but you don't have to. And then slowly bring the chin back to chest as we come back down. We're going to move this bolster now into position for our next pose, which is a supported hero pose. So we're bringing it in between the legs so that we can sit down onto the bolster, kind of like we're sitting on a horse, so legs are on either side of it. Bring the fingertips down behind you. Again, we're opening up in that same way as we did with our camel. Fingertips to the ground, pressing the chest to the sky. Gaze can be towards the ceiling, or again, you can let the head and neck drop. Breathing into that low belly. And then when you're ready, start to bring chin back to chest. Draw yourself all the way back up. We're going to extend one leg out. So you might like to move that bolster in front of you out the way. Inhale, take the arms towards the sky as we find some length through the spine. And then exhale, gently fold forward. So you might come to the knee. You might bend the knee to make a bit more space for the hamstring. You might come to the shin. You might find the foot. You might find beyond the foot. It really doesn't matter where you are as long as you can feel that gentle stretch through the hamstring. Good. Slowly coming to sit back up. We're going to change the leg that's outstretched, so hook the other one in. Take the other one out in front of you. We find that length once more. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, folding forwards. Slowly come to sit back upright. I'm going to come off this bolster that's behind us as we come to lie down. Got a couple more poses and then we're going to head into our Shavasana. So just keep the bolsters handy, you will want them shortly. And come all the way down to lie on our backs. We're going to keep this one bolster because we're going to bring it underneath the hips for our bridge pose. So just let yourself gently roll back down. Find the feet at about hip distance apart, and as we press into the heels to lift the hips up, I want you to slide that bolster back in underneath the hips. It should feel nice and comfortable. Feel free to wriggle around until it does. Let the palms face up. And just breathing here, letting those hips be nice and heavy. Soft through the face. Shoulders and the neck. If you'd like a little bit more of a stretch, you could take the leg out long, so just one at a time. You could even draw that opposite knee in towards the chest if that feels good. Maybe take a few circles here. One way and then the other. So you should feel on the opposite side you're getting a stretch through the psoas here. So this is the muscle that comes from the spine and wraps around the pelvis. Change the leg so the other leg is outstretched. And again, remember, you could just stay here with one outstretched and the other resting, or if you like, you can add on that circle either with the hand for support or just working through using the leg only. Really listening and finding what feels good in your body. Good, and then gently hug both knees into the chest, but keep them a little bit wide so that you're not pressing into the belly at all. And then I want you to take both feet towards the sky. So this should feel comfortable on the low back. If it doesn't, adjust where the bolster is so that it feels nice and comfortable for you. So this is a modified legs up the wall. Obviously, we don't have a wall. We're just doing it actively with the legs. Flex the feet towards the face and see if you can soften through the belly. This should feel restorative. It shouldn't be too much heat building here, though you will maybe have a little bit of core activation because we don't have the wall to rest the feet against. Just breathing here. Gently release the knees down. Again, hugging them into the chest, and just give yourself a little rock from side to side. It's almost like a happy baby pose. You could even take the feet to the ceiling if you like. And then bring the feet back down, pressing into the heels to lift the hips up, slide that bolster out. And then roll the spine all the way down. Come back to the knees in towards the chest. Little rock from side to side, just letting that low back gently reset. And then we're going to get settled for our Shavasana, which I recommend you bringing all the props back in. So we're going to take one bolster underneath the legs to support the low back. We're going to bring the other one underneath the upper back. And then we're bringing that hot water bottle back over the womb. Palms face the sky, closing the eyes when you feel ready. And using the breath to let you sink and settle further into this position. Reminding yourself that it's safe to rest, and in fact, rest is what you need the most. And allowing yourself to turn inwards and listening to the wisdom of your own body, and also that of your heart. This premenstrual phase is often when, like I said before, we want to burn it all down. We want to change things. It's when we criticize certain things that at other stages of the cycle we can often tolerate. And while it is not necessarily the sign that you need to burn it all down, there is often some truth to aspects of it. So I want you to listen carefully. What are those things that aren't working for you anymore? And while you don't have to quit everything entirely, how can you make changes so that next cycle at this time, you're not feeling as intensely like you want to escape your life? How can you make changes so that you want to be in it? Of course, needing a rest from it, but not like you want to intensely escape what has been happening. So all you need to do here and now is breathe and listen. The constraints of the body fall away as you just bring awareness to the breath. Let the constraints of the mind, those thoughts, melt away as you're just consciousness following breath in and out, in and out. We're going to slowly start bringing ourselves back. When you're ready, wriggle fingers and toes. Take the hot water bottle off your belly so that you can stretch long. In your own time, rolling to one side and then coming up to have a seat. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice today. If you enjoyed this class, you'll enjoy all of the others in my online yoga circle. So this is yoga specifically for women around the different stages of the cycle, for those trying to conceive, for pregnancy and for postpartum. We would love to welcome you to that community over there. Thank you again for being here today, and namaste.